Thank you all for joining us in this late session. So great to see so many of you here. This session is titled the Socratic Bot, Engineering AI Sparring Partners for Purpose-Driven Pedagogy. And presenting today is Dr. Bullock, and I'll hand it off to you.
Right, thanks very much, Jessica. And like I said, thanks guys for joining. I know it is 4 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, and I can understand if you were already checking out for the day. Um, just to kind of quickly introduce myself and kind of what I'm talking about, um, I associate director for staff training and development at the Colorado Department of Corrections, which basically means I help oversee the corrections training academies. That's my full-time thing. In my unlimited free time, I also teach as an adjunct for Pikes Peak State College and teach business classes there, mostly online, though hoping to catch one in person at some point. And then I've also been developing a course for Manhattan University called Shaping the Learning Organization. And my doctorate's in learning sciences. My uh, Most of my I guess just kind of professional experience has been in adult education, in online education, things along those lines. And so very much kind of tied to the concept of a learning organization and kind of how we can shape that both professionally and in my kind of doctoral preparation and things. So all that to say that I've been thinking a lot about this recently with developing this course because I'm developing a course for the first time in the age of AI, or since that's really become a thing. So I am trying to, I guess, think through how we can make it a useful tool for students and make it something that is more than just a shortcut machine, right? I think that's kind of what a lot of times it gets used as is just, I'm going to press the magic button of Gemini or whatever, and get the answer that way. So I'm hoping to kind of flip that script and not just talk about, how AI can write for students, but really try to look at how it can challenge them. I am going to admit that I'm not super used to Zoom. We use Google in the state service, so I'm going to have to try to navigate this a little bit today. So apologies if I'm a little bit clunky with it. But with that said, let me jump into this real quick. So hopefully you can see the screen okay. Uh, just a quick outline, kind of getting started, which is what we're doing now. And then I'm going to kind of talk through a little bit of the course itself and kind of what I'm doing with it to utilize AI in it. Um, Hoping to do a little breakout session for everybody where we break into groups and kind of actually do some of the sparring with the AI to kind of look at what it actually does and what kind of feedback you get from it. And then kind of join back together toward the end to kind of look at what we learned from that, kind of discuss the process of using that in a course. So with that, Jessica, are you able to pop the poll on for everybody?
Yeah, so we'll do,
And thanks so much for doing that.
yep, so we have the poll going. So just let me know when you want me to close it. And I have the first poll going. So
Okay.
um, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much does AI generated student work worry you?
And I just kind of wanted to get a sense from everybody because I kind of guess that this would be moderately so whatever for people. But you never know. I mean, it's kind of I've been a little surprised sometimes with these what people say. So
Looks like
looks like we've got
almost everybody has, yeah.
we've got about 20 or so. So I guess we can end that one and move to the next one. It looks like just kind of glancing at it, about 10% of people said one, not very worried at all. About 30% said two, so a little bit worried. 40%, and the kind of the largest group there said three, so kind of moderately worried, kind of in the middle. Only 15% said four, so I mean, on the higher worried side, and then 5% said most worried. So that's actually a little lower than I thought it would be, honestly.
Yeah, just so everyone can see. Um, and then I'll launch the other poll. All right, so the next poll is how often do you encourage students to use AI?
And I ask this because, like I mentioned, as I was kind of shaping this course out a little bit, I just realized that it's a part of society. It's a part of life. It's a part of work now. I will say this is a graduate program that's working mostly with students who are working full time. So perhaps a little bit different than if you have someone who's, a freshman or something like that. But I just kind of decided from the very start I wanted to try to embed AI as much as I could into this. So I kind of wanted to see what other people are doing in that realm. I guess we can probably end this one. Looks like most people have responded. And so it looks like about 11% said never, 28% said rarely, 39% said sometimes, and then 22% said frequently. So it definitely seems like other people are kind of having the same thought of how do we integrate this? What do we do with this? How do where do we go from here? And like I said, I've had that same thought and really wanted, I guess, to kind of go beyond what we usually, I think, seem to do, which is just um, kind of letting it exist or kind of just kind of telling them they can use it in for just to brainstorm things along those lines and really try to create more of an idea around what they could use it for and how they could use it. I'm going to stop that or close that out if that's okay, and jump into a little bit more of the slides. So, like I said, I have a doctorate in learning sciences, and something that one of my instructors said, and something that I've kind of always believed is that the person who's doing the talking is the one doing the learning. And this kind of goes to the, guide on the side instead of sage on the stage. And I think that often whenever a student just asks AI for an answer, I mean, the AI is the one that's doing the talking, right? And I guess you could say maybe, I don't know if AI is learning from that, but I mean, if anything, it's the one that's actually generating data that's kind of like, learning from you, learning from what your interaction was with it. So I kind of thought to try to actually spark some curiosity among students, I wanted to try to reverse engineer that. I wanted to try to have them engage with it in a discussion instead of just getting information out of it, and try to put the student back kind of in the driver's seat, I guess, of learning. Um, I'm using Adam Grant's Think Again. I don't know if anybody has read that. If you have, pop it in the chat or something. I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on it. But I'm using that as for the course because it really does just kind of look at a lot of kind of how we learn today, kind of what learning looks like, and kind of how we communicate, I guess, with one another. And one of the things he talks about is moving from a product to a process. And specifically, oh yeah, at least somebody is also a Grant fan. Um, but basically, I mean, he basically says there's the preacher, which basically focuses on kind of defending a fixed truth, delivering a final product. And I think a lot of times, realistically, we all kind of fall into this, right? Because especially if you become an expert in something, if you have a doctorate or you're teaching those kind of things, it's easy to kind of look at things from that perspective. And Grant really tries to get us to look beyond being a preacher, just kind of advocating for something or kind of trying to focus on the product itself and try to look at the process of what's happening. So look at discovery, questioning assumptions, and trying to seek evidence that's beyond just our pre-existing thought processes. And that's kind of what sparked me to think about this as like as a Socratic sparring partner. So it's my last slide, and we'll switch over to a little more practical stuff with the document that I shared in the chat. But basically, just to kind of quickly think through this a little bit, I just decided I wanted students to actually try to think deeply about something that they, uh, a core belief of theirs. So I'm asking them, and this kind of is a short version of this, but I basically created a prompt that says, for AI, that says, I want you to act as a Socratic sparring partner. I'm going to share a professional belief with you. Your goal is not to agree with me. Instead, ask me probing questions and challenge my assumptions. Point out potential blind spots and force me to think like a scientist by considering alternative evidence. You can provide contradicting evidence, especially from well-regarded peer-reviewed sources. Do not provide a summary, only ask the question one by one. So I'm kind of trying to get AI as much as I can to really focus in on being a debate partner and to ask questions to kind of make things or make someone think a little bit more about what they're doing. And I really like this because I've done it myself. I kind of I went and experimented with it myself quite a bit on a couple of different platforms and put in things that I kind of had strong beliefs about. And I'm not going to say I changed my mind, but I really do think it made me think things through a lot more. It kind of gave me some good information to kind of actually look at from a different perspective. So like I said, that's actually the end of the slideshow. I'm hoping everybody's got the link open where you can view the document that I shared with you, and you guys, of course, can keep this or kind of PDF it or whatever if you want to as well. Um, I put in some information here at the front. There is kind of the philosophy I was talking about. I put my contact information, of course. There's a link to the slides that I just shared for you as well. Um, and then I kind of put some tips just kind of about things that I've kind of discovered as I've kind of worked through this and things that might help you. I'm not going to go through all that right now, just so we can kind of get into the actual meat of it. Um, but I guess if you want to maybe scroll down to the actual activity part, actually, I'll quickly jump down to the very end of this, which I put in on, I guess, what is this, page 8, I think, or so, the AI use policy for my course. And I really designed this to work with each one of these assignments and try to actually create a dynamic kind of back and forth, where each one of these, the student has a specific AI use level that they can use for the course. And so basically, I mean, just to kind of make it really quick, level A is no AI use at all. Level B is basically for brainstorming. I mean, so you can kind of like engage with it to get information, to maybe consider different approaches and things along those lines, but not to actually draft or write things. Just to quickly, I guess, in my course, the level A is mostly for the discussion board. I've allowed AI use at least at level B or above in most other assignments. The discussion board is one where I did ask for no AI use because I really wanted to actually hear students' thoughts and to actually kind of get students to talk with one another. And I thought that it gets pretty boring pretty fast if you ever read a lot of AI. So I tried to kind of keep that a little more individual. But beyond that, level B, I mean, brainstorming, and each one of these, it kind of depends on the assignment. Level C, a thinking partner. So it actually lets them kind of organize, outline, test assumptions, identify gaps and weaknesses in their reasoning. You use it much more beyond just kind of the initial brainstorming phase, but kind of as they work through the assignment. And then level D, and this is basically where I kind of tried to focus the final project instead of most of the projects that led up to that, where they can really use it, fully for drafting, revising the text, for synthesizing information, for supporting data interpretation, scenario exploration, all that kind of stuff that we probably, or at least some of us, are probably using AI for every day, if I had to guess, in our professional work and things along those lines. I know that I am. And I was kind of trying to guide students through this a little bit, so they kind of worked up to that a little bit. So, like I said, it basically comes in at the final project phase. Um, with that said, I'll scroll back up just so you can see kind of what I actually did with this, and then we can kind of maybe work through a little bit of a breakout. But on page 4, I guess it is. Um, This is the literal description of what I have currently, and of course, I may modify this a little bit as I get finish this up. But I basically created an activity where I asked them to just use an AI tool, and of course, gave them the option to use what they want to use, whatever they feel comfortable with. Again, kind of cited Grant and kind of how we follow into. I didn't go into the prosecutor and the politician, but basically, there's different mindsets. Most of us kind of tend to fall into in most situations. And I asked them to identify a professional truth, something that they kind of had a core belief about. And some examples there I put, hierarchy is the only way to ensure safety. And I mean, that's coming from me being in the Department of Corrections. Generally speaking, most people, I think, within the department, or especially people that are in leadership, do kind of have that approach that we kind of need leadership. We need kind of a specific rules. We need a structure and everything to be sure that we have safety for people that are in our facilities and things. But I mean, on a more broad level, remote work destroys culture. I've heard this from a number of people who have been around a little longer, and then whereas a lot of times younger people kind of are much more willing to embrace remote work. Um, on the other hand, remote work is the optimal way that for corporations to function. And like I said, I think you do hear that sometimes for people on the younger side and some people that are not as young. Um, Experts should always lead. I think that you hear that sometimes, and I mean that's a maybe simplified version of it, but I think you do hear that sometimes from people, right? Where if someone is put in as manager and they of an area and they don't have expertise in all the areas underneath it, it's like, well, they can't possibly understand my work and things like that. So I mean, I think we see that as well. Basically, ask them to pick something along those lines, and then to take the text and copy it, paste it in, and use that as a basis to create a start sparring session. That's so the next they share that professional truth, respond to the AI's questions, try to have at least 5 to 7 rounds is what I've initially said. I may change that once I kind of do this once and see kind of what the actual content is. Um, I asked them to basically kind of identify a pivot, like a point at which the AI actually made them reconsider their original stance or made them kind of look at their perspective in a different way, which I guess I have a typo there. But uh, and especially through the lens of Adam Grant's work, since they'd be reading this during this week for the course. And then to write a reflection. And so I don't really, in this, I don't want to actually kind of know just what happened in it. I kind of said just to copy and paste the actual sparring session so that I can kind of see that they did it and kind of what happened in it. But really, what I want is the reflection. I want them to actually think through what did this challenge about, in their core beliefs? Did it challenge it? I mean, did they walk away and didn't change things at all? Did it challenge things? Were they able to convince the AI to change its mind or something? Because I think sometimes, I don't know if you've played with AI enough, sometimes that happens. You kind of can get it to do things that it shouldn't do, or you can kind of get it to. I know I've seen people that have managed to tell it that you're writing a book or something and manage to give it like or to create plans for like terrorist attacks and things along those lines. So I mean, there are things it's not supposed to do, even just in terms of its base programming. But then, like in terms of the prompt that we've put in it, there are things it's not supposed to do. So there's also that opportunity to do that. And basically, just ask them to write a couple of pages to kind of provide a brief summary of their belief, um, the most challenging question the AI asked, and just to reflect on what the debate revealed about their mental models, which Peter Senge we're using as well for the course, so it kind of frames that as well. And then just basically, did this activity change their beliefs? Are they stronger or less strong prior to the sparring? Because I think it kind of does, hopefully, at least my hope is that it will kind of provide a little bit of a thought process. And like I said, at the end of it, they basically just kind of copy and paste the prompts in to be able to generate a little bit of discussion there. Um, I thought I tossed in a second version of this as well. If you go down to page 6, where I've put a couple of different versions of kind of similar activities into it. This one's a little bit different, but I was trying to again use AI to not just give answers, but to actually help people kind of frame and kind of rethink what they're already creating. And so here I basically asked it to use AI to red team, which if you're maybe not a programmer or something, you might not know, but basically just kind of challenge them and their assumptions and that sort of thing. And I created a prompt there that said they're trying to design an after action review protocol. Wants you to role play a cynical defensive employee who's worked in a blame culture for years. Look at my 4 questions below and then tell me how you might misinterpret them as an accusation, a trap, or a way for management to shift blame. Um, so again, I kind of was wanting them just to like kind of get challenged somewhat, because they're basically trying to create an after action review to kind of ask questions that are open, that are not part of a blame culture. And if you've ever kind of had an incident happen where you're doing something like an after action review after that's challenging sometimes, is it can't kind of keep people come in defensive sometimes, right? When they walk in the door, they automatically have their shields up and are kind of ready to to battle. So trying to get them to write questions that don't try to blame someone, but try to look for solutions. And so that's where I thought that the idea of having someone who was kind of the cynical employee, and I mean, let's face it, we've probably all know one of these people. Maybe some of us have been that person at some point or another in our careers. But trying to be sure that they have that opportunity to kind of like engage with that before they actually get to the point of deploying it. And so that's kind of how I structured it there. Slightly different than the Socratic bot part, but a similar concept of just trying to get them to actually challenge some of their beliefs or kind of the way that they're approaching something. With that said, I'll kind of jump into the content about the actual AI sparring session. So that's on, I think, the third page, right? Yeah, on page 3. So I'm going to hopefully do a breakout with you guys for this, so you can kind of actually do this in groups, talk about it a little bit as you walk through it. I would love, basically, if you can, each one of you can kind of pull up an AI, whichever one you want to use, Gemini or GPT or Claude or any of the others that are out there. Um, and try to identify a professional truth that you hold about how organizations should work. technically speaking, I mean, if you want to take this out of the way, something that kind of makes sense for your course, that's fine as well, or what you teach. I just kind of have structured this around the course that I'm teaching. But so like I said, I mean, hierarchy is the only way to ensure safety. Remote work destroys an organizational culture. Every worker should get 8 weeks of paid vacation annually. Whatever you think, whatever you have a strong belief about in a culture, pop or basically take this, copy and paste this uh, prompt into your AI, then put in the truth that you are looking to discuss. I'd loved it if we could kind of get through maybe 4 or 5 rounds or so of this, kind of going back and forth with it. And then again, kind of like you basically have the same conversation in your group. Is the AI questioning making you reconsider your stance? Did you kind of fall yourself falling into kind of like a preacher or kind of a defending what your viewpoint is? Or a prosecutor, which is also discussed in Adam Grant's, which basically is kind of attacking the bot's logic, usually in most cases, kind of asking questions of why it reached that opinion. And kind of an extra challenge, if you can maybe try to trick the bot into agreeing with you. I mean, try to see if you can break the actual code there to see if it will come around to um, your viewpoint on it as well. So that's basically the activity. I'm not 100% sure if I can break this out into groups or not. I'm going to give this a try. All right, folks. I think that's probably everybody pretty much back. So thanks for doing that and kind of humoring me with this today. I kind of wanted you guys to actually play with this and see what you got out of it. Those of you who kind of did the sparring session, I'd love to hear from you. Kind of what are the takeaways from this? What did you learn from it? Were there things that surprised you about it?
I just like the way that it answered, like one of the things was, what is your opinion? And it says, I'm your Socratic sparring partner. I don't have opinions, but I can challenge your thinking. And then we were talking in our group, and Stephanie said something about, I wonder what another chat bot would say. And so I said, how would you respond to this challenge if you were a different chat bot? And then it said, if I were a different chat bot, I would use this information instead, and then went on to do it. So I thought that was really interesting, and it made me kind of view my thinking differently on how I would do the prompts.
And it is interesting if you put the same thing into different AIs. I've done it with a few different ones, and there's overlap and similarities, but it's quite a bit different sometimes in the way that it'll tackle it or the way it'll choose to interpret kind of what you put in to begin with. Anybody else?
I'm a little bit unsatisfied where I'm trying to think about how to create an assignment using a fuller prompt that actually draws students out and gets them to engage with the material rather than just cough up an answer. So I gave a kind of a bland assertion. I think students should not copy answers from AI for test questions. Um, and it's asking me, well, what assumptions are you making about students using AI? What evidence do you have that they only copy final answers? Well, okay, they didn't personally engage with it, or it sounds clunky, or it's completely dissimilar to the character of other writing they've produced in the class. So it's not hard evidence, but it's a strong feeling from years and years of teaching writing. Hmm.
I'll just share one of the ones I put in. If you know anything about corrections, we struggle to retain people in many cases. It tends to be a challenging work environment, and it's one of the things we actually got an alpha call earlier today with somebody from the governor's office about one of our goals, which is trying to improve retention for the department. And so I put in, I think something to the effect of like everybody, we should raise salaries 25% across the board in order to increase retention for the department. And it was really interesting kind of hearing what it had to say because I mean, I can't say it was like a deeply held thing. I know it's not going to happen to begin with, so I don't figure I should get too worked up about it. But like we really struggle with like especially clinical positions, nurses, doctors, dentists, social workers, psychologists. those kinds of things, because just realistically, many of them can make more. In fact, we're sometimes about 25% under the market rate for certain salaries. And so it was really interesting to kind of talk through it with why I uh, took that approach to begin with. And it actually kind of came back with some pretty interesting things, kind of saying things along the lines of, have you considered whether or not the cost benefit ratio for the public makes sense? Does this actually increase enough? Is there enough value for the amount of money you're going to put into that? And how would the legislature find funding for this? What would have to be sacrificed for other things? So it really kind of did just make you kind of think through a little more broadly, maybe than what the surface level you might kind of present. Anyone else?
I had a question kind of thinking about the bot in reverse, if you want to say that. So I really like the idea of having students broaden their perspectives alongside the bot with these kind of, I don't know, sparring statements. Um, and I've wondered in other contexts as well, since it's the bot doing all of the questioning, do students lose like the ability to practice questioning? And is there a way to engineer a bot so that the student is doing the questioning, but in a way that it's not, a simple solicitation of like information and answers, but more focused on like the cognitive skill of question asking, if that makes sense. So I wonder if that's like come up at all for you in your course design and activity design.
I hadn't really thought about it, but that actually does sound like an interesting way to approach it, kind of from the opposite perspective. Instead of having it ask questions, having you actually try to frame better questions. I guess it kind of somewhat relates to the second assignment that I put in um, that I actually kind of showed you guys, that kind of looked at trying to have them ask questions or create questions for an after action review, and then kind of like go through with that with the bot to try to improve them, or kind of have somebody like a cynical persona. But yeah, that's an interesting concept to kind of actually get them to think. Because yeah, if you're asking a question, you're probably thinking a little more deeply than if you're just responding to what somebody else already or what the AI said.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking like in a work context, like employees are really valuable if they know how to like ask those probing questions kind of on the fly. Um, so that's just what came to mind there.
I just now realized I haven't been looking at the chat closely enough, but Ursula said mine didn't really spar with me. It was very agreeable. Um, interesting. I'm curious what you used, or which one you were using, Ursula, because it sounded like most people definitely got a little bit of a battle from it. Um, I
Yeah.
even said that Claude is very good at arguing.
I use Chat GPT,
Huh, interesting.
the CES. So I work at Brigham Young University, and so I used our institutional license. But I used I think I did the other the Socratic, the ILM-SOL 620 activity. So I don't, that one, I think that was the one you just mentioned, not the
Oh,
first.
the second one.
Yeah, the second one. So maybe that's why it was a little bit more agreeable.
Maybe so.
Because it was
Well,
just asking me questions. It
I
wasn't
will say
like,
though that I mean it's one of the flaws of AI is that it tends to want to please you. I mean it's
yeah.
designed, and so I mean it'll tell you you're brilliant and everything else. And
Hmm.
I've had it do this. I've played around with it a few times, and not even really in this scenario, but in other scenarios where I've tried to kind of um, see if it actually would challenge me on something, because it would like sometimes it'll just kind of give me what I want to hear,
Yeah.
and when I question it on it and I say, wait a minute, like this is not what data says, or this is not whatever, sometimes it comes, all of a sudden it comes back kind of apologetically, like, oh, sorry about that. I didn't, or whatever, that sort of thing. But yeah, it really is. I mean, it sometimes can be very agreeable. So I've been able to
Hmm.
break it a time or so when I've been playing with this, and actually get it to start agreeing with me instead of fighting me on
Yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah. Chat GPT, I was able to have it agree with me on something just dumb. And at first it disagreed, and then I got it to go to my side. So maybe chat's a bit too much of an agreeable person, entity, not person.
And it may also depend on how you use it in general, because it kind of learns from your interactions with it. So it's
Right.
possible that also, like if it may be trying to do what it thinks you want it to do, or something along those lines. So yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Heather
May
said,
also be a matter of which version you use because we use Boodlebox in Colorado in the central office and some of the community colleges that we're associated with. And I accidentally logged in one time with my personal email instead of my work email. And so it's limited in what it lets you do. And it sent me to like the not as good Claude, and I didn't notice. And it gave me some information. I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. And it said, oh, you're right. Sorry. I made that up. And I'm thinking, you've never made anything up. And then I realized it was because it was like the lower level free version of Claude versus the souped up, awesome, expensive level of Claude. So
and I've called it with mistakes and things like that too, and literally kind of had to argue with it a few times and say like, no, you're wrong about this. You have bad information here. I found that it's really bad with like recent events and stuff. Like if anything that's happened in the recent past, it kind of it hasn't worked its way into its database or something. So sometimes that kind of also screws it up a little bit. I guess we're down to just like a minute or so. So I'll just kind of wrap up really quickly with it. And just say, I mean, I don't know that this fixes all problems. I don't know that it uh, solves the future of what AI looks like and what higher ed looks like with AI in it. But I did just think that like anything that tries to get students to think a little bit more and actually kind of engage critical thinking skills, because I think that's what really at our core worries us the most with AI being involved is that you just don't have to think as much anymore. And so I was trying to kind of think of ways to make that happen, to actually, to make it a useful tool to actually create critical thinking instead of just generating the critical thinking for them, and the student being able to kind of sit back. So that was my thought process. I appreciate you guys joining for the kind of adventure with it, and Jessica, thanks very much for moderating as well.
Thanks, everyone. And I'll share the document in Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, a lot of our slides are there, and we'll be posting the recordings on the Elk YouTube site as well. So thanks all. And I do have a quick feedback survey if you have time, or you can take it and do it elsewhere, but I'll drop it into chat if you have time. And otherwise, I'll see you all in sessions tomorrow.
Now, we'll just say too, if anybody does use this, I'd love to get an email from you, just like how you used it. I'd be curious to see how that works because I'm going to be debuting it this fall and kind of testing it live. Thanks, everybody.
thank you.